Maybe you want to know what it's like moving overseas. Maybe you're curious of how it can impact a child. Maybe you're curious about what it's like. Or maybe you're just here for the cake. No matter what it is you're here for, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rosa. I am from San Miguel Island, Azores. I was born there. I was raised in Canada, and then I moved back to Portugal when I was about 13 years old. I just wanted to say that if I ever say that I'm in Portugal, I always mean that I'm in the Azores. I will be making a yogurt cake today while I'm speaking. So I won't be giving any directions in the video, but if you want the recipe, it will be in the description box below. So in the year 2012, I found out that I was moving to the Azores. I was about 13 years old at the time, and when I found out, I was actually very excited. Obviously, a child is not going to think about the negative impacts on something. To me, this was going to be an adventure. And I thought we were only going to be away for 1 year. And so I didn't think about how much my life would change. I obviously also didn't know how much my life would change. If you guys don't know, the Azores is located in the middle of the Atlantic, and they're made up of 9 islands. Back in 2012, the Azores were very slow-paced and not as evolved as it is nowadays. So you probably have been to the Azores, and if you have, you've probably been there recently, right? Well, let me tell you, San Miguel Island has evolved a lot since back then, and so my story is based on how it was back then. And I think that if I had experienced the same life-changing events nowadays, I think I would have a little bit of a bit different experience, but also, who knows, right? So in October 2012, we moved. I was very excited to meet my grandmother, my cousins. Everything was very exciting. It was a new place. I have never traveled before. I also traveled when I was a baby to get to Canada, but I don't remember that. When I got to San Miguel Island, I noticed that a lot of things were very different from Canada, especially the size of buildings and the size of cars and the size of the streets. Everything was different. The airport was tiny. Well, if you're going to Toronto Pearson Airport, you can get lost, right? Well, on the way to my grandmother's house, I remember thinking, wow, where are all the buildings? Everything is just grass, land, and cows. It's very different. And if you've been to San Miguel, you know how different it is. It's very rural. My first day, I can remember it very distinctly, of so many feelings, a lot of tears between family. I was a child. I did not cry. I was not sentimental about it. Everything was new to me. I was excited. I met my cousins. Everything just happened so fast, and we were there. I remember being fascinated about how different everything was. I remember my cousin Milton the first day showing me off to his friends. Kind of like I was something new. And I guess I was to him something new, right? Everything was fun. I just remember the beginning being so fun. And I would take pictures of everything, and it was very fun. Everything was new. It was an adventure. I enjoyed it, okay? I really did enjoy the first week. Maybe the first month. The second day that we were there, my mom went to the school to enroll me. Let me tell you, the school system in Portugal is a little lacking. And you may be wondering what I mean by that. Well, my mom had enrolled me in school on October 15th. Well, she tried to. She had to get the documents translated. So she got the documents translated, and she got them translated very quickly so that that school could get to working on getting me enrolled. But they did say that I could still attend classes until I wasn't enrolled. I was not in the attendance list. I was not registered in anything. I would do like the tests and everything, but nothing counted for anything. I was just there, a bystander, I guess you could say. I was just there, the teacher, I was just an extra that was sitting along all the other classmates. My papers came back and I was only officially enrolled in May of 2013, which meant that that was at the end of the school year. It also meant that they could not consider me eligible to pass on to the next year because they had no they didn't register anything, you know? They had no proof I was a student there. And so the school system was really slow and it jeopardized me. I was held back 1 year. I do remember the school system being very different from Canada. I also remember it being a bad experience. You know, I'm not even going to get into the fact that I was bullied because that has nothing to do with San Miguel. Every kid can get bullied, you know. But that's not even the problem here. It's that I don't think the school, like, teachers care enough. I don't think they incentivize you. Like, they don't push you. They don't encourage you. And I'm not talking about all teachers. I did have a few teachers that were encouraging and did want me to go to university and told me to do my best, but not many. Many teachers really didn't care if you flunked. They were there. They were going to tell you the material. If you passed the test, great. If you didn't pass the test, they could care less because they were not being paid enough or they just didn't have the connection, I guess you could say. And that's fine. I understand on their part why. It's not easy. It's not easy being a teacher in the Azores. Most kids really don't care for the school or for the education. And consequently, they don't care about what's going on. I also don't feel like they incentivize reading a lot. So, I don't know. I was really discouraged in school up until I changed schools and I had gotten a really good grade on the test, and then that incentivized me to be really good at studying. I got into the scholars of the school. I think that's what you call it when you get like really good grades, above average. And I was excited. It felt good for the future. I wanted to go to university, but then I was roadblocked again. When I finished my 12th year, I couldn't find a school that I wanted to go to. I didn't want to just take a course for just taking it. I wanted to do something that I really liked. And at the time, I was really interested in art. If I wanted to do art, I had to go to the continent. And I was not ready for a big move to the continent because it was another place that I did not recognize. I was interested in studying in Canada to be a teacher, although I did not have the funds for it and no school program could help me. I called so many different places. I emailed the schools here to see if there were any programs. I could not afford it. Being an international student in Canada, you have to have a lot of money. So I accepted my fate and I decided to take a gap year, and so I started working. The money would also come useful because, you know, I helped around in the house. Then I had decided that I wanted to go back to school the year after, and I was going to go to economy. I was going to take my course in the same area that I had taken in high school. I eventually did not go because I found a really good job, a job that I fell in love with, or at least not the job, but where I was working. I worked at the airport, and many of you know that. I started off working as a wheelchair assistant, and I was very scared because I didn't know if I was up to the challenge. It takes a lot of responsibility to be a wheelchair assistant. because of all the challenges that the job comes with. But I did it. I eventually changed positions, and so I worked in a different area of the airport, but it fascinated me, the where I was working, working with planes, working in that industry, the airline industry. You guys, I love that. I loved my job. And I miss it very much. That's something that I do I do miss very much. I found that job and I was unmotivated to go to university then because I had colleagues that had a degree, not in the same area, but they could not find work in their field. And so they settled for the job that they were able to get at the airport. And, having a degree didn't mean that they would make more money than me because obviously it was not in their field. And it's just so difficult for someone to find work in their area as a university student unless you're like studying for being a nurse or being a daycare assistant or a doctor. So it's difficult, or a lawyer, okay? And that was none of my options, right? And so I'm like, what am I doing? I found a really good job. It was a good job. It was a decent job. It paid well. And so I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not going to leave here, and there's no point in me having the extra work if I feel like this is going to be my forever. Little did I know I was going to change my life a few years later, right? Anyways, so I settled. I settled for my job. I didn't go to the exam. I didn't go to university. Do I regret that? I do. I think I should have gone to university. But we all make choices for a certain reason, and at the time I thought that was my best option. Whatever. Not to mention, so while I'm speaking about school, the school system is not the greatest. The lack of opportunities is very grand. And when I mean like very grand, you have 5 university courses on San Miguel Island, and that's it. If you want to go somewhere else, you have to go to the continent. You have to go to a different country. Portugal has really good universities. Coimbra and Porto. Lisbon has some universities, but the best ones are up north. And so I could have opted to do that. But one, I don't think I could afford rent. My parents couldn't afford it. I couldn't afford that big move, so I didn't do it. And 2, I was scared. I was scared to make a big move again. If it was to Canada, I wasn't going to be that scared because I was familiar with Canada. I was not familiar with the continent. And maybe that's just excuses. Maybe it is. I just didn't feel like it was accessible enough, or there was not enough opportunities on the islands. That's just because it's islands, I don't blame Portugal because they have amazing courses and amazing schools, but the island didn't have much. I did associate, though, very negative feelings to the island because I had very bad experiences on the first year. So a lot of my stuff broke. And I know that sounds silly, but I broke. Like my favorite watch, I broke my iPod, my computer charger was broken too. Most of my stuff broke. I know it sounds silly, but like a lot of my things started breaking. And a lot of people made me believe that it was the evil eye. You guys know Portugal has very big superstitions, especially the Azorians. Witchcraft and evil eye and, all that stuff is very believed upon the island, and it's talked about every day, even by young people. I personally, nowadays, do not believe in any of that stuff. I don't think it should be something that is incentive to believe, because honestly, if you start thinking that everything negative that happens is because of that, you're going to feel more negativity. It's going to attract more negativity. Every little thing, you will feel like it makes you negative. But back then I didn't know that, right? And so I associated that the island was bad luck. The island was bad luck to me, and also the evil eye. I believed it, right? Why wouldn't I believe it? Everyone's telling me it's this thing called evil eye. But let me tell you, it did consume me for a little bit, and a lot of the negative stuff that happened, I did associate to evil eye or to bad luck, and it's not easy thinking that there's this big negative aura around you to cause these things. I was scared to tell people or to publish things online, like little steps, like, how do you say it? I was scared to tell people that I was taking my license. I was scared to tell people that I got a new car because I was afraid that evil eye would ruin it. Like something bad would happen because people knew. Doesn't that sound crazy? Let me tell you that I believed this when I bought my new car in 2020. So it wasn't that long ago that I still believed in this, you know? You guys, do not believe stuff like that. There's no point. It consumes you. You live your life negatively. It's not fun. And so I believe that your life comes out to what you decide, how you decide to look upon things. If something bad happens, okay. It's just something that unfortunate. Tomorrow's a new day. You cannot let that define you, or else bad stuff will keep happening. One of the things that brought me to distraught was the food. You guys probably think I'm silly. Food in Portugal tastes so different from food here. Let me just mix this real quick. Food is much more natural in Portugal. Whew. I sure miss my stand mixer or my electrical hand mixer. You guys are going to think I'm silly saying this. There are some certain comfort foods that doesn't exist in the Azores. They're all junk food. I'm warning you. They're all junk food. Some are not. But like, for example, the cereal. Obviously, the Azores has cereal. But they're not the cereal I like. I mean, I do like them. They're not my childhood cereals, you know? They're not my favorites. I loved Fruit Loops. I loved Corn Pops. I loved Lucky Charms. None of that existed on the island. They had Chocapic, Estrelitas were also good, which was also good, and I do like, you know, I still eat them as an adult. But I did not have my favorite cereal. That brought me to distraught. Another thing, bagels. Bagels just recently got to the island 4 years ago. I lived almost a whole entire decade without bagels. Bagels were my favorite breakfast. Certain chips, pizza pops, fruit roll-ups, Dunkaroos, goldfish. I know those are all junk food and snacky items, but those didn't exist. Hot dogs. Hot dogs tasted completely different from Portugal. The Portuguese hot dogs, they're not Portuguese, sorry. They come from Germany. The Frankfurt ones, that's what they eat. They don't eat like the normal, the hot dogs that we get in the package. So yeah, they like Frankfurt hot dogs. Not that they like, but that's what they have. They have Frankfurt hot dogs at the stores, not the ones that we're used to in North America. The hot dogs on the buns, they're really big. They're good, but also they kind of taste like the German hot dogs. So to me, they were really different. Let me tell you the quality of ingredients. Obviously, São Miguel ingredients are way fresher. Everybody knows that. If you've been to São Miguel, you know what I'm talking about. But eggs tasted different. The egg yolks were very orange. That was uncomfortable to me. I felt very uncomfortable looking at a very orange egg yolk. Little did I know that they're way more healthy than the ones that you get here. Because the other day I bought eggs at Walmart, and the eggs were like, the egg yolk was almost white, which really bothers me now. The taste of milk is so strong. Why? Because the only ingredient in milk in Portugal is ultra pasteurized milk and water if it's skim milk. You have only 3 options of milk in Portugal, or at the time you only had 3 options. Now you have like almond milk, soy milk. Now you have that stuff. You didn't before though. You have skim milk, half fat milk. How do you say that? That's the most common milk, meio gordo. It's like in between skim and whole, and then you have whole milk. Those are the 3 types of milk that you have. They don't have, preservatives, conservatives. They don't have extra ingredients. If you look at the ingredients of a milk carton, it says ultra pasteurized milk. It'll say water. It may have 1 preservative because it is shelf stable, but that's it. And so milk is very, the quality of ingredients is very, very healthy in Portugal. Meat is healthy. The cows are free-ranged. They're advertised as happy cows. Vacas felizes. And so everything that you get there is fresher. The fruit will rotten in about 3 to 4 days in your house. And you may be wondering why it rottens so fast, but that's just because everything is so fresh. It doesn't have the chemicals. The bananas there are delicious. We have amazing pineapple. I cannot stop talking about how fresh the ingredients are in São Miguel. That is a big pro, but to me as a child, stuff tasted so different, so that's why it made me feel uncomfortable. A child doesn't care about healthy stuff, right? A child cares about comfort food. A child cares about taste, texture. Those things are really big, but to me as a child, it really bothered me because it was such a culture shock. You don't have variety in São Miguel when it comes to food, even when it comes to items, but when it comes to cold cut meats, you don't have the flavored ones that you have here in North America. You don't have honey ham, you don't have Black Forest, you don't have, seasoned stuff. You have ham, you have smoked turkey, smoked ham, chourição, that's pretty much it. Chicken. So those are the cold cuts that you can get, and they're flavored with just salts and water and maybe pepper. That's it. Oh, you have mortadella. Mortadella is very famous in Portugal. You do not have bologna, another thing that I loved as a child and I didn't have. There's so many things. The list is endless. They didn't have sour cream for a very long time. They don't have cheese strings. If you want to get cheese, you can't buy them in blocks unless you buy the super big ones. But no one does that there. So a lot of things are different in São Miguel Island, but that's normal, right? It's a different country. They have different traditions. Ooh, talking about traditions. Holidays. Easter, just past us right now. There's no egg hunt, or there used to not be an egg hunt. I know that they started actually doing egg hunts in Ponta Delgada in the last 2 years. I personally brought that tradition into my nephew and niece's life because it was a tradition as it was a childhood tradition here in Canada for me. I did not want to let them miss out on the fun. They don't do egg hunts there. They don't talk about the Easter Bunny. They don't talk about the Easter Bunny. Obviously, it's not about the Easter Bunny, right? It's about Jesus. Let's see. Let's move on to Portugal Day. Is not as festive as Canada Day. So people do not wear the Portuguese flag. People do not go out for Portugal Day. That's just, no one has patriotism in Portugal. The immigrants, people who live out of Portugal, are much more festive than the Portuguese who live inside of Portugal. It's time to put the cake in the oven. I hope I didn't miss out on any ingredients. I was not paying attention because I was talking so much. So I'm gonna leave that in for maybe 45 minutes. When it comes to September, I really start missing Canada. You guys, I know Canada is much more cold than Portugal is, and everyone hates the snow and they try running away from it, but I missed the snow and I missed fall. You guys, fall, autumn is a season in Portugal, but it's not this season. It is in Canada. You guys know how beautiful fall is in Canada. You guys know that fall comes with Thanksgiving. Fall comes with Halloween. Fall comes with festive harvests, you know, pumpkin patches. It comes with apple picking. It comes with all the fun activities that's probably not for adults, but I still love decorating, and I refused to let Portugal's lack of decorations ruin the fun of fall for me. So I would make my own, and you guys know that I went to the States a couple years back and I bought some fall decorations there too. And my fall decoration collection was growing and I want it all back. I'm asking my mom, she's gonna bring me my fall decorations from Portugal when she comes and visits me, because I have memorable things there. You know, my fall decorations was either made by myself, bought on a memorable trip, or given to me by friends. And they're very special to me. They remind me of how much I cherish fall and autumn decoration. I think you guys understand how important autumn is to me. And so, obviously, living in a country where they do not care about the change of season kind of made me a little bit sad. There is no autumn decors that I'm able to purchase in São Miguel because they don't sell it. It's not a tradition, you know. It's different. I understand. I truthfully understand. But I also understand how I was feeling, you know. And so, obviously, that brought me to distraught as an adult more than it did as a child. What bugged me as a child was Halloween. Halloween in Portugal, it's not a Portuguese tradition. You guys know, if you guys didn't know, Halloween comes from Ireland and was brought to North America. And in North America, they did it big. Halloween decorations, costumes, trick-or-treating. Trick-or-treating only went to São Miguel about a few years before I moved to São Miguel. So it was not a custom. And when I did move to São Miguel, it was right around Halloween time because we went on October 14th and I caught Halloween in São Miguel. I was so excited for Halloween because I love trick-or-treating. I loved it as a kid. It was amazing. It was fun. I know I was getting to the age where we were going to stop trick-or-treating soon. But how do I explain this? I brought my costume from Canada, my witch costume. The day that we went trick-or-treating, maybe one kid or another was a little dressed up, but most kids in San Miguel Island, they wear black, and that's how they go trick-or-treating. And you don't see a lot of them go trick-or-treating. The candy that they give you is this hard sucking candy or caramel, like fruit caramel candy. They don't give you chips or chocolates or the occasional pop. They don't give you gum. They don't give you gummies. They don't give you nerds. They don't give you the fun candy. Now, we have to understand the limitations of Portugal and how poor the economy can be. So I understand now as an adult that giving chocolates out on Halloween is way too expensive. But as a kid, how do you understand that stuff? How do you accept terms, you know? Then, as I grew up, I still wanted to decorate for Halloween. I wanted to make Halloween a fun celebration for Santiago. I think Santiago, when he was born, a lot of my creative, a part of creativity in me just wanted him to experience the same thing I experienced as a childhood. So decorating the house for Halloween became a tradition for me. I did not have Halloween decorations. You know what I would do? I would cut stuff out with construction paper to make it fun. And so I did a lot of DIY Halloween decorations. Stores started selling more Halloween decorations, but it's not the same. And two, it was really expensive to buy Halloween decor. So that you guys can understand about how expensive stuff can be in Portugal when it comes to decor. Maybe something that I buy in the States is going to be $5. So here, I'll use the Christmas decoration as an example. I bought a nutcracker in the States for $5. I know Canada prices are a little bit more expensive, but I'm just trying to give you guys like how different stuff can be. So I bought a wooden nutcracker for $5. It was really cute. If I have a picture, I'll insert it here. And then I saw a nutcracker in Portugal. The quality of it was a little bit poorer than the one that I got for $5 in the States. But it was similar, I guess you could say. The size of it was the same, and it was 20 euros. What do you guys think about that price difference? And keep in mind that the States, yes, the States have a lot of, in Portuguese we call it poder de compra. The States has a lot of options, and they have so much variety that things, I guess, are just cheaper there. I don't know why. But when you convert the euro to the US dollar, it's about the same. So that's the difference. A lot of stuff is more expensive in Portugal because it is imported. Anyways, I think I'm getting on a rant here. I felt like changing countries was a very bad thing that happened to me. I felt so much anger. I did. I felt a lot of anger. And I blamed, I don't want to say, I did not blame my parents. I was angry. I was very angry that we changed countries and that my life was taken away from me. I did not have a graduation. I did not have prom. I did not experience all the things that I was supposed to experience as a teenager or a kid. You know, the reality of two different countries really brought me to distraught. When I started growing up, when I got my first job, I got money, right? I wanted to order certain things. A lot of things I couldn't order in because it just came from so far in the world. Most things I ordered from London, like art supplies. You guys, I was an artist. I am an artist. I don't want to say I was. I am an artist. Art supplies would come from the United Kingdom or maybe from some parts of Europe, but they were so expensive to import. Shipping was like $50 for one thing. So obviously that's not like, because $50 is almost 2 days of work in Portugal, and so that was not possible. You know, I couldn't afford that. It was too expensive. Certain things, I remember buying a pad of watercolor paper, hot pressed watercolor paper, like cannot remember what brand, but it cost me more than $50 to ship that in. And I was very obsessed with the watercolor paper, so I was willing to pay the price, but still it was expensive to me. You know, it was expensive, and those types of limitations will stop you from doing stuff that you like doing. I cannot say that all things are bad moving to Portugal. My experiences did make me grow as a person. It did make me very, very humble. You know, there's certain stuff that I love about São Miguel that I don't think I would be able to get the same experience here in Canada. Like being humble and watching my mom. So unfortunately, you know, São Miguel is not as remote as people think. We do have washing machines, we have internet, we have electricity. It's not like we're living in the old days, you know. But at the beginning, my mom could not afford a washing machine, and so she would wash clothes by hands. You guys, thinking of this breaks my heart. But we could not afford it at the time, and so maybe for a month or so until she was able to get a washing machine. I think someone gave us a washing machine at the time. But I would watch her wash clothes on the Portuguese sink in the backyard, the tanques. If you know, I'll put like a little picture here. And then the simplicity, even if you have a washing machine or a dryer, everyone in Portugal goes outside and puts their clothes in the line. And that was one of my favorite things to do. That was one of my favorite chores to do. I loved putting clothes on the line. I did not like folding clothes and putting them away, but I love the simplicity and breathing nature, you know, putting clothes on the line, except on the days when it was like raining every 30 minutes, sun out every 30 minutes. Like, you know, San Miguel weather can be crazy. It can be stressful, but on a very beautiful sunny day, you breathe in the fresh air while you're doing that. You guys, simple actions like that just make me happy. Cultivating certain things, the planting of the potatoes. Obviously, I wasn't the one planting them, but then my Dad would harvest fava beans, and we would open up the fava beans in the backyard, sitting on the floor. The drying the beans in the sun, my grandma would do that. My mom would have this spice growing in her garden, and then we would put it on. So it was like a flower, and we'd have to go like this and put it on then a plastic tarp and let it dry in the sun. And that is like the Portuguese version of turmeric. It's called a safrua. People use that for fish. Then let me see what else. The trails, the simplicity of giving to your neighbor when you have too much harvest. That's beautiful, you guys. You have too many bananas, you share. Not everyone is like that, but if you're from a very small town and the neighbors are still like elderly or older, even some of the younger ones, they will share. Oranges, all the fruits that are grown on the island, people share with each other. People make bread. If they have an extra loaf, they go take it to their neighbor's house. I would do that so many times. I would receive from my neighbor, they would make a rouge douce, sweet rice, or sweet rice porridge, or whatever you call it in English. And they would bring it to us. And so the act of giving is beautiful in San Miguel. It's just like, I have too much, or I have enough for everyone, so I'm going to make it for everyone. Or I have too much and I have enough to share, so I will share. And so those things are beautiful to me. And then the traditions, the Espírito Santo is beautiful. The religious festivities, everything is just so beautiful. And I am telling you, living simply on San Miguel Island is one of the most humble life experiences that I could have experienced as an adult. As a child, I did not pay attention to certain things, but when I grew into being an adult, I was grateful for living and experiencing certain things that I would not be able to experience in such a big country as like where I am now in Canada. I think that if I grew up in Canada, I wouldn't know how to do basic things like gut a fish or cook the way I cook. I don't know. I think that much of my cooking style comes from being in Portugal, being in a small place with few ingredients. It made me get creative. It made me make things from scratch. I truthfully tell you that my experience in Canada, my experience in Portugal was not just negative. As a child, it was more negative than it was as an adult. But you truly learn how to be grateful for certain things and for what you have when you pass that experience, And I remember also feeling negative feelings about like humidity. Portugal, the Azores Islands have a very humid climate, and so the house that I was living in was also pretty old, and so the walls had a lot of trapped humidity. I eventually bought a dehumidifier, but it wasn't enough. And so every few weeks, my walls were moldy. I'd have to clean it with pure bleach or this very strong active chemical product to get the mold out of my walls, which would kill me every time. Like, I thought that I would get sick from those chemical products. At one point, I couldn't stop coughing because of it. But it was life there, You live in a Portuguese house. Even the newer houses are going to have the mold, and your paint is going to start coming off the walls. It happens everywhere. You don't have to have an old house for that. And the problem with the humidity in the Azores is that, for example, I couldn't have wooden spoons anywhere. I couldn't have wooden anything in my house because it would get moldy. And it would get real moldy really fast. And so I got sick of it, so I stopped buying wooden utensils. I stopped buying wooden things. Wooden decorations would be a little tricky, which was sad because I love the rustic look. Also, my jewelry started getting like the green stuff, and my clothes. Here, let me show you. So I bought this beautiful dress in the States, and then I took it with me to San Miguel. And when I went to wear it in the summer, because it arrived in the winter, I put it in a barrel. There is this mold. Oh, you can't see it through the camera, can you? There's mold on this dress. Do you see this? Look, you see that? I tried so much to get it out. And then when you're from afar, you can see it right there. When you're from afar, you can notice this. The weather is not too great today, so it's kind of hard to show you. But it ruins your clothes. It's the mildew, it's the mold. You can't really do anything about it. It's Portugal. It will happen without you even noticing it, and you just have to suck it up. And I tried to get it out of that dress, but I couldn't find any products that would work. It's a humid climate. It's why everything is so lush and green, because of the humidity. Everything is beautiful in San Miguel. And so, you know, one thing comes with another. You want lush green scenery, fields and forests, you're going to have the humid weather. That's just how it works. It's the climate there. It's always, also talking about the climate there, 80% of the year it's very cloudy and rainy. And I remember the month of March in 2023, there was not one sunny day. And I know that's not just in the Azores. I know that it happens in other countries of the world. I know England is also a very cloudy climate. I know this story kind of drags on just because I have so much to say about my childhood, you know. I have so much to say about my experiences in San Miguel. It's hard to summarize something that happened during 12 years into like a short video. So I'm kind of trying to tell you that there were good things and there were really bad things. For the very first part of my life in San Miguel, I hated it. My mind was on moving to Canada. I had that objective. I wanted to go back. I was going to find my way back. But then I met Louise. And I kind of settled down. I'm like, what am I doing? I just need to be around the people I love and I can adapt. We thought about it over one whole entire year. You know, it took us a year to move, but it was not a very light decision. A lot of thinking, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety over this decision making. And we got the opportunity to come here. And we're here, and I do not regret it. There are certain things that I miss about San Miguel. There are, especially my family. I miss Santiago. I miss my mom. I was so close to them. I could go just, they were 10 minutes away by car. So we make decisions for certain reasons. And if I hadn't moved, we would have this in the back of our heads for a very, very long time. And maybe we would blame certain things in our lives if we haven't experienced what we experienced to get here, you know, and we're just going to give it a go. And you have to live life that way, you guys. If you have something that you want to do and it's bugging you, do not let it be a what if. Go after it. Your life is too short. You cannot let fear stop you from living. That is my advice for you. I'm not sure if you're still here, if you're watching. I know many people are probably gone by this time just because this was such a long story. And I probably haven't gotten to all the things that I want to tell you about me moving or what my experience was like, because I forget certain things until I'm editing the video. I don't know. I'm waiting on the cake now, and we're gonna have a piece of cake before the video ends. And I just hope you guys liked hearing my story. Everyone has their own story. Everyone has their own experience. Everyone has their own preferences, opinions, and so that's how it was for me. If I had the choice, would I live in Canada or Portugal? You guys, I think you guys can answer that because where did I move? But that doesn't go to say that I wouldn't live in Portugal comfortably. It just says that it's a little bit more effort to keep me happy there. I guess you could say it's not impossible for me to be happy there. I would, have to do a little bit more to make myself happy. And now that I've lived in 2 different countries for so long, I feel like half of my life or half of my heart is in San Miguel and half of my heart is in Canada. And I'm always going to miss one place or the other. No matter where I am, I think I'm going to always be divided. And that's what it means to be an immigrant, isn't it? When you have your house, your home in one place, and then you have your family and your memories in other, it's a little bit different. It's something only an immigrant can understand, I believe. You have to experience it for you to truly understand what someone can feel like when they belong to two places. I mean, maybe they don't even belong to any of those places anymore, because you leave a country, you leave your homeland, you're there, you were out of it for so long that you don't belong there anymore, and now you're in a place where you're not from, you don't belong here, but you're here and you build yourself a life here, and eventually you adapt. I think you guys, people who are immigrants, understand what I mean. Anyways, let's just wait for the cake to be done, and I'll tell you how it turned out. That looks nice. The cake came out very moist and beautiful. This is what the slice looks like. I'm going to taste test for you guys. So tell me, I was about to say, so tell me what you guys think, but you can't taste it. There's a very, very subtle taste of peach because I used half of a peach yogurt. It smells really good. It's very, very moist. I love a simple cake. And then this yogurt cake, you can really match with anything. You can eat it with like some cream cheese or a slice of cheese, or eat it with some fruit. It's really good. I love yogurt cake. And I really like this recipe. I think I already have a recipe on my channel, but this recipe is a little bit different and it's really good. Anyways, as I finish eating this piece of cake, I want to thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to my story. Don't forget to leave a like on this video. It really helps my video get out more on YouTube, and comment down below because I love speaking to you guys. And don't forget to subscribe if you're not already. I hope to see you guys next time. Bye!